Hi guys, this is one of my videos. It's question and answers or a flow talk. You can ask questions, you can comment. You are very free to do that. So this is are you training to die? And this is sounds a little bit provocative question. And I was inspired to ask this question when I talked today to one of my friends, and he described his how he was using the diminished breathing, the training, and in this diminished breathing he had this sensing the stillness, sensing the absence of thoughts and the absence of feelings. And this was a moment of silence, stillness, and he thought, wow, if the death was like this, then I wouldn't be fearful of death. And that inspired me a little bit, just to make this little talk and ask you this question. So, are you training to die? Have you ever thought, what would you like, how would you like to die? And this is an interesting question, I think, that all of us, we have to live in a way that it would be easy for us to die. And you see, we also have to accept, during our life, we have to be better at accepting the death, because the death is very natural. All of us, we're going to die. And the death is just a part of the process of living. And in a way, in our society, it's a kind of a taboo to think about this and to talk about this. And maybe there's a lot of different aspects that prevent us from talking about that, prevent us from training to die, to training to live with this idea, training to accept this thought. And so I asked my friend a little bit about that. And he said, when I was doing this diminished breathing, it was I was sensing my belly, and was the total absence of thoughts and total absence of feelings. And this was like a suspended state a little bit, when there was nothing around. And this is like the concept of time. The whole handling of time is different. And is the burden also of time, because the time is something that is burdening us very often, because especially when we are going through hard times, and the time becomes a burden, because then we think, okay, how long time are we going to go through this and live this hardship through. And this is really a burden sometimes. So when you don't have the concept of time, when you just when you just have this now, and the now, it's beyond time, because when you are in the now, you are in this moment, and this moment is always the same. So there's no future and there's no past. This is a very interesting state to be. And for me, I'm very much inspired by the teachings of the samurai. Hi Stefan, nice to see you. I'm very much inspired by the teachings of the samurai. And that's some old teachings, like 300 years old. And they described how they were handling fear of death. And the fear of death was very crucial for them, because they were, it was there all the time. because when there were when you are a samurai and you have an opponent staying or going just around you, the opponent is looking for a moment to strike, to kill you, actually. And this is some interesting situation, because then you have to handle the fear of death by accepting the death. And you know, the samurai, they were training accepting the death from they were like 4 or 5 years old. They were training by being present, because when you are present, you don't have thoughts, you don't have feelings, and you don't have fear. And this is a very crucial thing when you are a samurai, when you are in the middle of the battle, that you are not thinking, you're not analyzing, you are not altering your movements. So you are just doing things. And the fear of death is a strong thing, because when you think about you are not good enough, or you are most probably not gonna win. So this is a state of acute stress. It's the reflex behavior. And so you are not so cool, Moske, anymore. And your opponent, it can, see this through. So it can strike. And when you are in fear, your reactions, they are not as fast as in the situation when you are cool and you are focusing inside yourself, and you defocus on your environment. This is very, very interesting. I was always very, very inspired by this thinking and by applying it into our life. Without, when you're working with martial arts, or when you're working with, where you're interested in different kind of, we call it internal martial arts. Very often there's an atmosphere of some kind of new age, the atmosphere of, how do you call it? There's something mystical. And you know, when you remove the mystical thing out of it, and you actually look, okay, what kind of techniques were they using? What kind of focusing, what kind of centering techniques, what kind of balance technique, not only physical balance, but also mental balance, psychological balance. It becomes very practical, and you can bring it in to your life. And very often it's always also in order to be able to tolerate the question, have you ever thought about the moment you're gonna die? Or if you, for example, knew that you're gonna die tomorrow, or if you're gonna die in 2 hours, how would it be like? Are you satisfied? You know, there's a lot of aspects in this. Are you really satisfied with your life? Are you satisfied with the things you are doing in your daily life? Is your life full of meaning? Are you satisfied with your social relations, with your relationships with your children, for example, with your spouse? Do you experience fear in everyday life? Do you ever experience silence and stillness? Are you really good at listening to your partner, to your friend, to your colleagues? How stable are you in your mental stability? So those things is about enjoyment of every day, every moment of your life. This is about being overall satisfaction with your life. And those things, they are really much connected with fear of death. Because what I think, personally, I ask myself this question very, very often. And you see, when I'm with my children, I look at my children, I love them. I'm very happy as a father. And sometimes I get this idea also, you know, I can die. I'm so happy I can die. Really, really. It's just a fracture of a second. I look at them and I see them like I really understand that's my children. And I'm so happy. And I say to myself, I'm so happy I can die right now. And this is exactly the second when you don't have thoughts, when you don't have feelings, but what you have is really a sensing of very, very deep, profound satisfaction with this moment. And this is a power of now. That was, you know, Eckhart Tolle. He's a fantastic guy, a very, very inspiring guy. He used to talk about this. He's really, really good. So, and you know, there's also, I heard of one of a Buddhist, a guy, he said that, you know, where is the moment where you can experience nirvana? Nirvana, you know, the situation of, well, I don't know how to describe nirvana, never been there. But he asked, you know, the moment where you really can experience nirvana? And the answer is, he answered, yeah, well, that's when you sneeze. So in this moment, in this second, you can experience nirvana, because nirvana is nothingness. It's the... thank you, Casper. So this is a nothingness. Wow, and this nothingness you can only experience in one single second. Well, there's not a lot. But if we are... The idea is what I started with, you know. I started with talking about diminished breathing. And diminished breathing, that's a very good tool, very, very helpful tool, in order to avoid fear. It doesn't have to be fear of death. It can also be a fear of acting on the scene, for example, for a musician. So if you have fear of being in the big social happenings and social relationships, sometimes if you have a fear of performing for others, if you are not really truly sure about your performance, very, very often the thing is, that's what I'm doing now also, you know, this is an improvisation. So what I decided once, I just decided, you know, I would like to train feeling secure. I would like to train the flow, providing for the flow of thoughts, flow of conversation, flow of inspiration for other people, because I'm working with, you know, with teaching. And for me, it's very, very crucial. Sometimes you have to improvise to maintain the flow. And that's why I started actually with the Flowtalks, the Flowtalk concepts, and also question and answers, because guys, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, so please comment and ask. That's a very good thing. That's my training to be in the flow, to be in the now, and also, you see, accepting all the fuck-ups, all the faults I'm doing, all the errors. I need really to live it through. I need to go on with the flow. I cannot stop right now. And I don't have a plan. So my plan with these flow talks is just an inspiration. I would like to act upon the inspiration. And so I have to accept well, a certain uncertainty. I'm inspired by something my friend told me this morning, you know, about the fear of death. If death was like this, then I don't fear death. He experienced, you know, diminished breathing, and then it was a second that struck him. If death was like this, I don't fear death, because there's no thoughts, there's no feelings. I can sense my breathing, yes, I can sense my body, but nothing else. I can not think, I cannot feel anything. And this is very, very, you feel free. You feel free of the concept of fear, you feel free from the concept of time. There's no burden of time. Okay? Well, it's not some deep thoughts, it's just an inspiration for you to ask yourself, do you fear death? What is your, what do you feel? Will it be different in a year? Will it be different in 10 years? Will it be different in 20 years? What do you do to accept death? And the death is a part of the process of living. We evolve, we, we grow, and then it's a kind of a maintenance period. And then we die. And this is nothing to do with that. Hi, Mirete. And then we die. That's we call it radical acceptance. We have to accept this. The death is a part of living. And when I meet the woman I love, when I meet my children, I can get this second of, wow, I'm so happy. I'm satisfied with my life. And it's not a thought, and it's not a feeling. It's the very, very deep sense. It's ingrained in the body. And this is a moment of stillness. This is a moment of silence. That's what the samurai used to call living silence, or stillness in action. They used to call it living silence because they also, for them it was the active meditation. And they also had dead silence. That was the meditation with closed eyes. So the samurai, they trained all the time to be neutral to the environment, to sense the environment with their body. And this is very inspiring, if you ask me, because you see, we really need to use these techniques in this life because there's so much stress, and we're really forced to act upon this stress every time. We are trained to be reactive. We are trained to protect themselves. If somebody give us, well, very often it happens with me. I know if one of the people on my course, he's sometimes people are reacting with things are sounding negative. And when the reactions or the comments are sound negative, thank you, Greta, sounds negative, you are like pushed to go into the protection mode and to start explaining why you are doing what you're doing in a way that is natural for you. Well, I'm trying to inspire people in the things I do. And you don't need to protect yourself. The thing is, if you are satisfied with the life how you are, if it's ingrained in your structure, in your nature, in your body, you know what? This is nirvana. Right. You don't need to protect yourself. Well, you can help people. If you feel that the person, hi Marcelo, if you feel that the person you are dealing with is negative, if you feel the person is, it's not just inquisitive, but also blaming yourself for something, you don't need to protect yourself. The only thing you need, if you are deeply satisfied with your life, if you're deeply satisfied with your social relationships, if you feel that your life is full of meaning, why would you want to protect yourself? You have to help the person, really, and you have to train to have this urge of helping another person that is truly having some problems. Sometimes people are in deep shit where they are reacting with lots of negativity. With people are reacting exactly, it's not just the question. It's not being inquisitive, wanting to know the truth. No, well, maybe they want to know the truth, but the part of it is they are trying to blame you in their having bad time right now. So for us, that's the question actually of living your life training to die. Sounds crazy, I know. But what I mean is, by living your life from the one point, from the neutrality, from the sensing other people, and not feeling, not analyzing all the time, not thinking, not doubting all the time, not protecting yourself, not acting, not reacting all the time, being reactive. This is a very crucial thing. That's what gives you the enjoyment of life, the satisfaction, because that's how you learn to be in the now. And The Power of Now, that's the very, very inspiring book, by the Eckhart Tolle. A fantastic guy, very, very inspiring guy. He's a fantastic speaker, very inspiring speaker. I once experienced him in Copenhagen. It was a great experience. I really enjoy this guy. How he can, he can speak to the audience, and he can take a very, very long, extended pauses like that. And all of this time, he has a contact with the people sitting and listening to him. And this is a thick, this is a very concentrated. So he has so much. I don't think it's a self-control. I think actually it's a grounding. It's a severe grounding. It's a grounding like a tree that has a very, very deep roots. No doubt at all, he knows what he's talking about. He knows, he has experienced this now he's talking about, the power of now, for extended period of time. Like I said before, when a Buddhist, he asked another guy, what will be your moment where you are closest to Nirvana? No. Well, this is the moment where you cough or sneeze. This is a fracture of a second. But this is a fracture of a second where you don't have thoughts and you don't have feelings that dominate you. So you are in your body. That's a bodily reaction. And this fracture of a second, it shows you are in the power of now. So I hope really we can extend it beyond this fracture of a second that it takes our body to sneeze or to cough. So I just want to ask you again, are you training to die? Are you living your life so you are ready to die? And this is it's not a silly question actually. It sounds like a silly question from the start, but it is really not. When you diminish your breathing, when you relax, when you focus on your body, not on your external stressors or whatever you find in your environment, but when you learn to have a focus point into your higher point, into your body, and then to defocus on your environment, you will just see what happens. You will sense the environment without having the need to react. This is this moment that I really want you to ask yourself, have you ever experienced this? Not being reactive. And in this very moment, you are not fearing the death. And this very moment, the samurais, the samurai warriors, they train to extend this. 5 minutes. Break. No seconds. Then, again, in this 5 minutes. Because you see, when you don't have fear of death, you are least likely to die from being hit with a sword. Why? Because when you are not experiencing fear, when you are not experiencing thinking, when you're not experiencing analyzing, where you're not experiencing any feelings, but you're only in the senses. In this very moment, you are least likely to be hit by a sword. Why? Because your reaction time is much shorter. You are moving better. Your antagonist muscles are most likely to support you by relaxation with faster movement, with faster reaction time. That's what's happening. And that's what the samurai saw, and that's what they trained from they were 4 years old. They trained their children, their boys, from 4 years old to not fear death. And they trained it through so-called walking meditation. And it's called, they called it stillness in action. They called it living silence. Not death silence. They called the sitting meditation with closed eyes for dead silence. And they could not really use it for the battle. They can only use the living meditation, the living silence with open eyes, where you always maintain focus in your own body and you defocus on the environment. So the environment does not anymore force you to react by you paying attention. And this is a crucial moment. So, well, that's how we can meet eternity. And eternity is death. So we hope it's the same. Eternity and death. So, you know, in many religions, they talk about eternity and the death, you know, to avoid fear. But I really think it's possible to do without the religion. And that's my point. Without the religion, just with training your body. That's what we do in our course also. So I'm very, very interested in talking about this. And if you have any questions, guys, and if you have any comments, please comment. This is not just flow talk. This is a question and answers. Questions and answers. So we've been talking about diminished breathing. We've been talking of physiology of diminished breathing. We've been talking about how to avoid fear of death and how to actually train acceptance of the death. How we live in a good way in order to die in a good way. I also asked you, have you ever had these thoughts? How are you going to die? If you are going to die tomorrow, if you're going to die in 2 hours, will you be satisfied with your life? Will you be satisfied with your good social relationships? Will you be satisfied with the power of presence, with your ability to be in the now, with your ability to be present, with your ability to experience the flow in whatever you're doing? Is your life full of meaning so you are ready to die? This is not a silly question. Please, give me your thoughts about this. And thank you for joining me. I'm very, very happy about that. And please also write to me, because you see, sometimes it's really hard for me to do 2 flow talks in 2 languages in 1 week. So in Danish and in English. So previously I made one English flow talk on Wednesday and one Danish flow talk on Thursday. Today it's Thursday and I'm doing an English flow talk. And because I haven't had time to do it yesterday. Okay? So if it's okay for you, Danish speakers, that is it understandable English? You know, is it okay for you that I'm skipping the Danish flow talk and do it in English from now on? Please tell me. Give me your reactions. Sending you all my love. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining me. And I think it's a very, very inspiring thing to talk about the death. Because the death is a taboo in our society. But the death is very, 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 very crucial thing to talk about. Because in a way, we are living in the way we are going to die. And we're going to die in the way we are living right now. So, you see, And this, in a way, it's mirroring, in a way. High hands. So I'm going to put this video on replay. Thank you for joining, and please react on this. Please give me your comments.